Welcome to JAH Advisory. Master yourself, master the universe.
Greetings and blessings. Welcome to JAH Advisory, your guide to self-mastery and reaching your full potential. My name is Jamal, and in this video, we're trying another format here. So we're going to start off with a short mindfulness activity, something physical and something for our physical awareness, our body awareness, and then we'll go into our main topic related to self-mastery and reaching your full potential. And we'll close out the video with sharing a little bit more of a world perspective, any relevant updates we have, and then we'll practice setting an intention for ourselves. All right, let's get started. We'll start off our moment of mindfulness with a check-in. Our check-in is the process that I like to use for getting present. So wherever you are, sit back, or if you're standing, loosen your shoulders a bit, straighten your back, come into a stable position, something comfortable, loose, relaxed, and think of one word that describes how you feel, just one word. And so take mental note of that word, and we'll make 3 statements. The first is your name. The second is that word describing how you feel. So you can say, I feel blank. And lastly, we say, I am present. So we'll say those 3 things out loud, just like this. My name is Jamal. I feel eager, and I am present. So I'll give you a second to say it out loud. And if you're in public or if you're around other people, just do it anyway. Just do it anyway, and maybe you can get them to do it and they can check in as well, even if they don't tune in for the whole video. It's good to pause and check in, recognize where you're at in the moment, how you actually feel. Just take inventory. And now that we're checked in, we'll sit back, close your eyes, take a deep breath in through your nose and out through your mouth. Take a deep breath in through your nose and out through your mouth. We'll do one more. Deep breath in through your nose and hold it here. Hold your breath as long as you comfortably can. The more relaxed you are, the easier it is to hold. And whenever you're ready, gently release, letting the air out with control. And now we'll practice adding a count to our breath. This is the calming breath, the breath that slows down our nervous system whenever we get triggered, stressed, experiencing any form of fight or flight, any kind of fear, anxiety. This helps to slow the nervous system down. So just like before, except we're adding a count. So inhale for 3 seconds and exhale for 6 seconds. Take a deep breath in, 2, 3, and breathe out through your mouth. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Breathe in through your nose, deep breath in, 2 and 3, and breathe out through your mouth. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Breathe in through your nose and breathe out through your mouth. 3, 4, 5, 6, and we'll do all breathing through the nose now. Inhale through your nose, expand from your belly, and breathe out through your nose. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and inhale through your nose, expanding from the abdomen, filling with air, and breathe out through the nose. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. One more deep breath in through your nose. breathe out through your mouth. 4, 5, and 6. And you can blink your eyes open. Breathe through your nose, breathe normally. And you can take a second to reflect. Notice how you feel. Maybe you feel different, maybe you feel the same. Maybe one of those breaths, either breathing in through the nose or breathing out through the mouth, or breathing in and out through the nose. Maybe you noticed any different there. Maybe you noticed a difference in how you felt when you were holding your breath. Just take a quick second and reflect. And now for our movement. And seeing as this is our first video of this series, we'll start with the top. We'll go from the top down. So we'll start with the neck. Take a deep breath in and tilt your head back. And breathe out, bring your chin to your chest, coming all the way down. And breathe in, tilt your head back. And breathe out, bring your chin down to your chest, all the way down. And breathe in, tilt your head back. And breathe out, bring your chin to your chest, coming all the way down. And look straight ahead. We'll breathe through the nose, breathe normally again. Take a second, and here we'll look over the right shoulder. Keeping your head and neck as straight as you can. We're just doing a twist over to the right. And we twist over to the left. Keeping a nice level chin, straight spine, straight neck. And over to the right. And look over to the left. We'll do one more over to the right. And over to your left. And look straight ahead. And this time we'll tilt the head. So we'll tilt the right ear towards the right shoulder. Doing a lateral bend this time. And left ear towards the left shoulder. And we'll come back over to the right. And over to the left. And from here we'll start rotating the head. Bring your chin down to your chest. Right ear towards the right shoulder. Tilt the head back. Left ear towards the left shoulder. And chin to chest. And keep circling. Feel out your full range of motion. Imagine if you had a pencil at the top of your head and you're drawing the biggest circles that you can. We'll switch directions. Again, feel out your full range of motion. So noticing where your body is at in this moment. And come back to the center, look straight ahead. And now that we're present, we've practiced some physical awareness, we can jump into our main topic. So for today, I wanted to talk about creating new habits, this whole idea of self-mastery, personal development, new habits, becoming a better version of yourself. What else? It could relate to New Year's resolutions. Anything really that we try to do that's new that we haven't been doing already, habitually, constantly, consistently. And the idea here is when you're working on a new habit, if you're trying to retrain your brain, retrain something, some pattern, the best thing is to start with one thing at a time. Just do one thing. That's important because you try to do too many things and your brain goes into overload. It becomes too much and your brain falls back to the easiest setting, the path of least resistance. It tries to save energy. What makes you think less, have to shift, have to make the least decisions. And your brain will do all these processes subconsciously. We don't even think about it. It just happens. And it can be anything from eating a new food or a new diet, for example, eating new groups of foods. And it could be an exercise routine. It could be something totally unrelated. Like it could be um, new financial habits, trying to budget. It doesn't have to be health related. It could be anything, any pattern in our life. And so my point here is whenever you're trying to do something, I recommend starting with one thing at a time. Do that thing for at least 9 weeks. I like the 9 weeks number. Some people say it takes 3 weeks to build a new habit. I think it takes a little bit longer. Our brain definitely retrains itself, and we have the concept of neuroplasticity that's becoming more recognized, and that's just the idea that your brain's like a muscle too. The more you train your brain in something, the stronger it gets in that pattern. The more you practice doing something, the easier it becomes, the easier it is for your brain to process, and the more likely it will be for you to engage in that activity or that thought process. It could just be a thought process. It doesn't have to be some activity or something you're doing. It could be a way of thinking, and that's a huge part of how our brain works. The more you think about something, the easier it is for your brain to engage in that process. So start with 9 weeks. I think that's the amount of time that it really takes for you to start creating these new patterns in our brain, in our physical brain, to really create these new pathways and strengthen those pathways on a neurological level. And when you really think about it, that's why it's difficult to really apply lots of new things at once. That's why New Year's resolutions don't work. Someone says, "Oh, new year, new me." They try a new workout routine or a workout routine if they haven't had one before. They try a new diet. They try going to new places, new friends. When someone does this, they're trying to incorporate 10 different new habits in their life, and your brain goes into overload. Your brain will end up falling back on what it's always done, like I said, because that's just easier. That's just more efficient for your brain. And your brain really likes to be efficient. Your brain likes to go through the least steps possible to get the work done. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's just the reality of our biology. We're programmed like that. We're programmed to conserve energy, and our brain uses a lot of energy. Our brain can use up to 50% of our calories. Your brain is literally up there sending electrical signals. It's a power plant. It's making electricity. I'm not going to go into the depth of that, but that's the rough idea. And it's not just New Year's resolutions. It happens, let's say you go to a wellness retreat, you learn 10 different things. Maybe there's something new you're supposed to do with your skin, something new you're supposed to do while you cook, something new physically, something new mindset, a new way of thinking. Maybe you start your day with affirmations. You know, every one of those things takes a toll. Every one of those things puts a load on our brain, on our cognitive senses, on our brain's ability to make decisions. Decision fatigue is a real thing. So the more decisions you have to make, the more tired your brain gets, and the more taxing, the more stressful each consequent decision becomes. And that's the big reason why people who go to let's say a wellness retreat to improve their health, it's difficult to apply everything they learn outside of their lives because they try and do all these new things at once. And it's the same thing. It could be a seminar, it could be a personal growth seminar, it could be a financial seminar where you learn new financial habits and budgeting practices or ways to save money. And it's really hard to do everything at once. So like I said, it's not just health related, it's with every area of our life. Maybe you suffer from chronic depression and it's hard to think positive. And you can try to think positively, you can try daily affirmations, and you can try many different things. But ultimately, your brain will go back into the pattern that is easiest for us, the pattern that's most common to it. And so we have to work extra hard. For example, if you're depressed, you have to work extra hard to remind yourself to think positive and to create those new pathways on a consistent basis, to create those new grooves in your mind so that it can become an effortless process. And the very basic breakdown in your brain is that to accomplish something, to have a thought, or to, let's say, even move my hand, my brain has to connect the dots from points A to B to C, and maybe even D. And eventually, your brain will go from A to B to D. And then eventually, it'll go from A to D, and it'll form that straight pathway. That's the basic explanation, but it gives you an idea of how your brain becomes more efficient the more it does something. It learns how to get to its goal a little bit faster every time, thereby saving energy. And so until we get to that point, we have to practice to do that thing consistently. And so just do the one thing. Stick with one thing for 9 weeks and see how that works out for you. Next, I want to talk about the world, getting a little bit of a different perspective on the world. I feel like many people live in their own bubbles and we lose sight of the bigger picture of things, the bigger picture of life, of the earth, of everyone that is living together on this planet. We just kind of get out of touch because life gets busy and many things are out of our scope of awareness. So I'm here to share a little bit of those things. I'll cover different topics, whether it's global weather, natural disasters, things happening around the planet kind of on a larger scale than our immediate surroundings that could be relevant to us. And for today, I wanted to talk about the Schumann's resonance. So the Schumann's resonance is named after a guy, his last name was Schumann. And the Schumann's resonance, named after a scientist, I think he discovered it in the 40s or the 1940s or 1950s. And he discovered that that's the resonant frequency, the dominant frequency of the planet. And that has to do with there's ways to calculate it and to measure it, but essentially it's the frequency that's dominant in the ionosphere and the interactions it has with the surface of the Earth. And what makes this relevant is, by the way, the Schumann's resonance is 7.83 hertz. The interesting thing about that is that it can change. It's not constant. On a good day, on a normal day on Earth, the Earth's frequency in the atmosphere will be around 7.83 hertz. There's many important things about the Schumann's resonance. I'm not going to get into all of the details on how it affects our health in this video, but the basic idea is that the Schumann's resonance helps our body to self-regulate, helps our brain to self-regulate. It helps your nervous system to self-regulate. It is a part of nature in a way. It's a part of nature and our natural cycles. When the Schumann's resonance is off of that baseline of 7.83, we can experience so many things. The closest thing to compare it to would be sleep deprivation psychosis. So having an extreme lack of sleep. So yeah, you can be functional or somewhat normal, but what happens is your ability to manage stress goes out the window. Little things can make you frustrated. Can have emotional outbursts or mood swings. It affects sleep itself, your sleep cycles. It can affect your circadian rhythm. There's so many effects of the Schumann's resonance. And part of that's because our body is largely electrical, and we have electrical fields communicating with the world around us. So we're getting information, we're getting energy from the world around us, interacting with us, right? And that's helping our nervous system regulate, and our nervous system has to respond to those inputs, to those stimuli. So Schumann's resonance is something to not necessarily pay attention to, but it can help you gain some understanding. Like if you've ever had a very off day, or if everyone you run into seems to be having an off day, people seem to be overall out of balance, maybe like extra emotional, maybe, and that could be anything. Maybe, people have road rage in the car. It could be someone in a store that is being a little too pushy or rude or impatient. All of these things are small factors that we can look at, and we can say, all right, there's things happening, and people that aren't as conscious or aware of literally what's being inputted into our body and our nervous system, we don't really understand what's happening. But when you are aware, you can realize, all right, not everyone's nervous system is well managed, I should say. So some people experience stress differently than others, and stress being any kind of input to our nervous system, our brain. It doesn't have to be good or bad, just any kind of stimulation. And people handle that differently. Some people get excitable, some people get frustrated, some people get tired, and everyone's ability to self-regulate is at a different level. And so you might be able to notice and say, all right, today's a day where people still need to be accountable, but you can't really fully blame people when they don't understand what's going on a larger scale. And speaking of on a larger scale, what exactly happens? How does the Schumann's resonance change? It can happen with the weather patterns. It can happen with what we're seeing now is solar activity. There's been solar storms. So if you don't know, the sun is very active, and there's storms and flares. So there's basically explosions, almost like volcanoes, in which energy, so just like the sunlight, there's energy and light coming out at different frequencies and different strengths, and that can affect the atmosphere here on Earth. Not just the atmosphere, but the electromagnetic field of Earth itself. And that's why lately we've been seeing some strange phenomena, like maybe you've heard of the aurora. There's a couple of them, but I'm familiar with the aurora borealis, also known as the northern lights. And these you usually see up north, and they're this beautiful light show in the sky. They're coming up more in the central part of Earth, in the south. For example, the southern part of the USA is experiencing some of that, which is very unusual to say the least. And what can also happen is we can see spikes in the Schumann's resonance. When the Schumann's resonance spikes, and it becomes out of that range from 7.83 hertz, then that has that impact on our physiology that I mentioned before. And again, not to get too deep into the Schumann's resonance, but that is our baseline. That's what our nervous system is used to. When we sit down and truly relax, or if you meditate, if you sit in silence and stillness where there's lack of stimulation and input, your brain tends to go to that 7.83 hertz region. And that's what's called the alpha state. It's actually just between alpha and beta. But for our purposes, we'll just call it the alpha state. And that's where you're calm, you're between awake and asleep, and you're perceptive. So that's it on the Schumann's resonance. I hope you found that interesting. The next thing I'll talk about is this concept of biohacking. That's been a trend for a few months now, maybe a little bit longer, at least in the mainstream sense. And I find it totally hilarious and ridiculous how people can do things that feel good for their body, do things that are healthy and brings our body back into self-regulating, um, back into homeostasis, back into the conditions that our body knows and likes best, and back to creating the proper responses internally and externally. I mean, that is from the inside as well as from the input from things that enter our body, the stimuli, the food, anything we put into our body. How those things can be considered hacking. Like, we've moved so far from nature and our natural processes that it feels like that people think they're cheating the system when they do things that feel good for their body. So that's why I'm here to kind of shift the paradigm, to help shift the paradigm in how we see things and how we see health, how we see the world, how we see health, how we see the world, just our overall perspective and level of consciousness towards the things we do. How many things do we do that we do because that's just the way we're taught, that's how it's always been, and we never really question it? As opposed to, what do you do intentionally with reason because you have conviction, you have real belief, and not just belief, probably the experience of that thing. How many things in your life are a part of that paradigm, the paradigm that you've created for yourself? And so we have to look at the things that we're told, the things that were sold, compared to the things that we know from our own experience, and really reflect on what works and what doesn't work. So yeah, I just wanted to bring up that trending topic, and there's nothing wrong with biohacking. It's totally fine. It's just a funny term because you're not cheating the system. You're getting back to your body's own self-healing, self-regulating mechanisms. You can't really outsmart your body. Your body is very intelligent. Inside of us, inside our DNA, inside every cell, we have the mechanisms for creating life, for regulating the systems that maintain life. There's so much there, so to think that we can outsmart it is silly. What we really need to do is get back to nature, get back outside, walk barefoot, eat fresh foods, not food from packaging and factories. Um, these are the things that we really need, and then our body will automatically get back to its natural state of harmony and self-healing. Our body, we all know our body is self-healing. And if you know me, you know I talk about this all the time, but your body knows what temperature it should be. It knows what the best pH balance or chemical balance is in the body, hormonal or otherwise. Your body knows how to defend itself if you have an invader, if you get some kind of infection or foreign particles, some kind of toxin that shouldn't be there. Your body tries to remove it, and in most of the cases, it knows how. The problem is we have so many toxins that are totally unnatural, not found in nature, that enter our bodies, and that's where we have a lot of complications. Your body knows how to repair itself. If you have a cut or a broken bone even, your body will know how to repair that tissue. So we can't outsmart the body. The body is very intelligent, and that should be respected. What else? I did have one thing I wanted to talk about here. So I have my book, Transformational Mindfulness. And again, if you know me, you know I talk about the breath often. I talk about gut health. There's some of these topics that come up. But something I often forget to share with people and to remind them of is that in the back of this book, in the appendix, we have a table of emotions. Let's see, I don't know if that shows up on camera. But basically we have some of the common emotions, the more of the base emotions. I feel like you can have infinite emotions, but ultimately they become combinations of each other. So you have certain base emotions. Some people say the base emotions are fear and love, and everything is is a branch off of that. So, for example, aggression or frustration is a branch off of fear. Happiness and joy is a branch off of love. Feeling calm, branch off of love. I'm not sure if I fully agree with that, but there are certain things that I can identify about each emotion. So while I do have the emotions listed categorically here, it's not a something that's set in stone. It's different, depends on who's doing the researching, the categorizing, but the important part is the concrete part that you can identify is what I have here in this table. So we start off with an emotion, and then we have the expression for that emotion. Then we have the physiology behind it, how it actually changes your body, and then we have the purpose, because all emotions have a purpose. So in our dualistic mind, we might think some are good, some are bad, some are preferable. Well, some are definitely preferable. You might prefer some than others. There's nothing wrong with that. But objectively, there is no good or bad. For example, we have calm. Calm, the expression might be a relaxed face. The physiology would be the relaxation response, a slower breath, a more a reduced muscle tone, and the purpose would be homeostasis and healing, helping your body regulate. And then we have something like sadness. Sadness is an expression, could be crying, it can be frowning, and you can have mixed nervous system responses, but generally will have less energy. And the purpose of sadness, and this can go to levels like, for example, grief, is to stay safe and overcome loss. So by reducing energy to our body, we can become a little bit more, and this applies to depression as well. Our brain can slow down, and we can have more time to self-reflect, to figure out how to avoid, and I think this evolves from figuring out how to avoid loss in the future. And that's the purpose of the emotion, to really force our body on a physiological level to take the time to reflect and see how we can improve, because maybe something happened that is not so desirable for us. Maybe it's a loss of a loved one, and our body on a physiological level wants to know how to overcome that, how we can avoid that. Maybe we made a mistake, maybe we got hurt, maybe we're not able to do something that we want to do, and we can feel sadness, disappointed, depression, and it's all to come back to help us to slow down and get our brain to figure out how to ultimately improve, and that's the physiological response. So I bring this up because the table is in the book and you can buy it anywhere, but I also want to remind you that emotions aren't good or bad. I've gone through many emotions, as I'm sure anyone here watching the video has experienced many emotions. Life has its ups and downs, and it's important to recognize that they serve a purpose. All of them serve a purpose. So don't beat yourself up if you're feeling down or if you feel anything, sad, angry, frustrated. Try and understand the purpose of that emotion, where it's coming from, and what the action is that you need to take in response, what the healthy action is, because there's always responses that come to mind, but there's definitely healthier responses, healthier actions to take when you feel those emotions, and actions that can be supported by those emotions as well, because the emotions can help us with different things. For example, when you're feeling a little bit slower, it's easier to do more cognitive functions, something more intellectual, maybe reading a book, maybe doing some research. And if you're feeling very excited, it's hard to do that. It's hard to do that. When you're excited, you want to do something physical, jump up and down. It's a lot harder to settle down and, focus on a book if you're really excited. So they all serve a different purpose. And the last update I had was I wanted to talk about sound health, but this video is getting long, so we will talk about sound health another day. So in this video, I talked about practicing one habit, just choosing one habit. Try that for 9 weeks straight until it becomes habitual, it becomes a pattern in your life, and then you can add on new things when you want to learn it. So that's the best way to create new habits in your personal growth journey. I talked about the Schumann's resonance and biohacking, and I also went over the table of emotions in the Transformational Mindfulness book. So if you made it this far, thank you for watching. We will close out with an intention. An intention is an extra step you can take to adopt a new habit, to make that goal, that thing you're working on, a part of your life's experience on a grand scale. So while you can set an intention for the next hour, the next day, the next week, and so on, the best thing is to have an intention for your life. And that will trickle down through everything else, through to the day, to the minute. And the idea of this is that when you set an intention, it makes it a part of your subconscious mind. So you can put action towards that intention on a subconscious level. You can work on that thing without even thinking about it. You just know that your actions will bring you closer. And if they don't, that becomes very obvious for you on a subconscious level. It's an easy decision of whether you should eat this or that, or if you should hang out with this person or that person, or whatever the case may be, if you should go to this place or that place, or no place at all. That becomes so much easier when you set an intention. So it can be anything. It can be a goal, a project you're working on, something you want to feel, an emotion you want to feel throughout the day, or anything you want to make a part of your life's experience. So we'll take a second, we'll ground ourselves. It's best to set an intention when your mind is a little calmer, when you're closer to that alpha state of mind. We'll take a second to slow down, sit back, relax, close your eyes, take a deep breath in through your nose and out through your mouth. Deep breath in through your nose and out through your mouth. And deep breath in through your nose and out through your mouth. And repeat your intention out loud 3 times. Repeat your intention out loud 3 times. Saying it out loud strengthens the effect on the subconscious mind. And go ahead and blink your eyes open. Thank you for watching this video. I know it's a little bit of a different format. It's a little bit longer than usual, but if you liked it, give it a like, leave a comment, and if there's anyone you know that can benefit from anything we talked about, feel free to share it with them. Subscribe to the channel for more. There will be plenty more updates, and be well, everyone. Stay mindful.